Okay, it being 1 o'clock, I will call the meeting to order. Let the record show all three commissioners are present, either in person or virtually on the Zoom meeting. Let's start with our Pledge of Allegiance first, I guess. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Probably what we will do is we will now do our first order of business will actually be election of officers for the 2022 calendar year. We deferred taking this action this morning so we could have all commissioners present.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve resolution number 00122.
You have a motion and a second to approve resolution as stated, which has Commissioner Anderson serving as chair for 2022 and Commissioner Christopher serving as vice chair. Any discussion, any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously, so I will be passing the gavel, I guess virtually at this point, and I will move seats. I'm happy to move.
Well, that way you're together, we can see you better.
Is it better
I'll just
together?
take chairman off.
Okay, just take that off.
Yeah.
All right.
For the day anyway.
Because we have so many people in the audience to see it, right?
We can see it, but. Okay, take it away, Commissioner Anderson, or Chairman Anderson.
Thank you, Commissioner Sauter. We will move to the approval of the business agenda as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve the business agenda as presented.
I would second the motion.
There is a motion and the second on the floor. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We will move on to the approval of the commissioner meeting minutes. There were quite a few minutes. Did you guys want to discuss any of them, or do we want to do them all as one?
I made all of my edits. I don't know if anybody else has had time to do theirs, but I don't remember.
And the edits that you made were very minor, so I didn't resend them back out. They were missing letters and words, no context changes.
Right. Yeah, I have reviewed 3 of the 4 that we have. The latest ones, the December 28th, I have not had a chance to look at those, and so I would defer. But Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion at this point to approve the November 30th, December 14th, December 21st meeting minutes as presented.
I would second the motion.
There is a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We will now move into citizen comment till 1:30. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. If you are on the phone, *6 to unmute. If you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand and I will call on you. Is there anybody who would like to make comment? I've got Peter Leon.
Do I start now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm calling about the Board of Health and having reviewed what the 2022 is and taking a look at what our current is. I have some concerns that we are currently in a situation where the only citizen member of the Board of Health is a medical professional, and we have nothing to balance that. And so I would hope that we would replace the retiring member, Sue, with somebody soon, considering that we're in the, I guess we can't say we're in the flu season because there is no such thing as flu anymore. That's we're in the COVID season. And we may need actions from the Board of Health. It would be good to have non-medical citizen participation in the board. That's all I have to say about it.
Thank you very much, Peter. All right, is there anybody else wanting to make comment? *6 to unmute yourself, or you can raise your hand if you're on Zoom. I am not seeing anyone. Maybe everyone's out plowing snow. Oh, Sherry Bosque.
Good afternoon, commissioners. Yes, I was out shoveling snow. I wanted to talk about a plan that I was forwarded for the county. And I don't have all the information on it, but when I read through the end of it, where it says what our county is going to focus on, it said, you know, basically the jobs it would create for people locally in Klickitat County. And those subjects were tourism for 1,727 jobs. Of course, this is projections. Craft beverages for 148 jobs. Unmanned aircraft, 555 local jobs. And it came down to natural resources and clean technology for 721 jobs. But when broken down, it said solar would create no jobs, 0 jobs for Klickitat County residents, and wind would decrease 10 jobs for Klickitat County residents. The main jobs for natural resources that it said produced local jobs were logging and forestry and wood product manufacturing. Also, it said that our county would focus on sporting goods and outdoor recreation, creating 105 jobs. So as looking at that, I just wonder how our county lost its way from that economic development plan, where our county had decided we would go with tourism and craft beverages and unmanned aircraft, forestry and wood products. And how did we lose our way with wanting to fill Klickitat County with wind turbines and solar farms from foreign entities that does not help our county at all? It poisons our land. You know, I'm not going to waste my time telling you again what these large solar projects from foreign entities do. It does not serve our county. The reason I bring this up is I'm hoping that the commissioners will get back on track to what was projected, I believe it's 2015. I'm not going to say that for sure, but this is your job to see that our county has a good future and that it's not wrecked our agricultural land. It also had agricultural in there for people. So this is your job to protect our future of our lands, get back on track with what the development said, and let's do some tourism. Let's get some more craft beverages and some other jobs going in and not selling our agricultural land to foreign entities that do not give us that power and they do not give us jobs. They just hurt our agricultural farms. So thank you for considering what's best for the future for Klickitat counties as you move forward in your decision making.
Thank you, Ms. Bosque. All right. Anybody else wanting to make citizen comment? *6 or raise your hand, unmute yourself. I am not seeing anyone. Well, we have 20 more minutes. If somebody changes your mind in 5 minutes, I will remind everyone again. Otherwise, feel free to look at the agenda or go back to shoveling snow. How much snow is up there, guys?
9 inches maybe.
Far less than down in our part of the world.
Well,
Yeah.
I had 9 inches. He was probably 6, 7.
Oh, really? That's it?
Yeah.
I just walked into my house for the first time in 9 days and it was up to my waist.
In your house?
Yeah.
Close the door, close the window.
Yeah. Now, when that storm first started hitting, you could see the radar bands flying over you and missing us. We didn't even start snowing until like 3 in the morning that night. So
You were up at 3 a.m. watching it?
2:30. Sleep's overrated.
I agree.
Not reading, I love it. What was that thing called earlier, the Indian, American Indian?
We are still in citizen comment. If anyone would like to make a comment, *6, unmute yourself, get our attention, wave your hands. We'd love to hear from you.
American Indian Health Commission.
Health Commission. You get to go get his phone. Thank you.
So I don't see any mics there, huh, Dan?
No, Mike, still, we have a question in IT on if they have an
12th.
update on time.
12th.
We just said the 12th is the new one.
Okay, thank you.
Christmas was the last one, the 12th is the new one. St. Patrick's Day will be the next one.
Anywhere with these things.
Yeah, so I can post it. Okay. And then- Yeah. I don't know, it's weird, isn't it? Maybe it's actually normal.
Every random second it's synchronized. It's like the lower motor's got a whack nut on it.
Just requested like the other.
The one
It's still got a code on.
I do, Mr. Chairman, if I could have a moment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, issue I did hope to bring up. I think we've talked about it before, but I just want to maybe re-engage with the board and make sure we're all in agreement. We do have, it's with the school in Dallasport that the school district has, is going to be surplusing the school. They're selling the school, the old elementary school to DNR to run their fire school and fire operations there. They had, the school district did go through a binding site plan to divide the parcel into basically 3 parcels, which was accomplished. You can look on the county GIS map and see that. So there's parcels 1, 2, and 3. The school district is selling the parcel 1, which has the school on it, to DNR. Parcel 3, they are retaining, which is the part with the part of the track on it. And then parcel 2 was a very small, I think 1/2 acre or less parcel that was created around the community center, which they are going to, our request was to have them transfer that because there was always some question as to the community building is a county facility, but we had a lease because when the county gave the property to the school district back in the 90s to construct the new school, that community building was on there. And so that was how they kind of fixed that. And so they have submitted an MOU to the prosecutor. He is reviewing it, but he wanted to be sure that the board was still, that was the direction with that, which so it would, the lease would be terminated, but we would actually get the parcel number 2 with the community center on it. So there would be no reason for us to lease ground that we now own. And so I just wanted to bring that up to have you folks take a look at that and be sure that the school district, because our lease, that lease is actually encumbers all of the property. And so this will all have to be cleared up before the school district can transfer lot 1 of the school to the DNR.
So clarification, they're just trying to transfer ownership of the small lot, sell it to us.
No, that was the deal was,
The way I always thought it was.
right. Yeah. No, it would be difficult for me to support us buying a lot that we gave to them.
That's why I'm just making sure.
Well, that was going to be my question is if we gave them the land for a school and they choose not to use it as a school and now they sell the land, was there a clause or anything that they would run the school in the transfer of that? Have we looked into the title report to make sure? Because I know like when this came up with the ball fields and White Salmon and the school was looking at potentially selling that for, a senior center or something. When they looked all the way back through it, they found that the family that donated the land, which was my family, that if it was to ever not be used for the recreational facilities, it reverted back to the family.
I believe it has passed. Again, the title report and the work that's being done was actually being done by the title company.
So that's correct. The council for the school obtained the title report. It looks like the only encumbrance that we discovered was the lease between the school and the county.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're looking for direction, Mr. Cannell, I'm fine with continuing.
Guys,
Yeah, I'm fine with it as well. I will ask again, citizen comment is still open. If anyone has anything you would like to bring up, *6 if you're on your phone, or raise your hand if you're on Zoom. And you can have your 3 minutes of fame. I'm not seeing anybody. One thing if you notice, my head was tilted to the side. I was looking at the building information for this past year and our single family homes permits are nearly double what they were last year and the year before, but our mobile home permits actually went down just a hair. So in 2020, we had 91 single-family dwelling permits issued, and in 2021, we had 174. It's too bad it doesn't go all the way back to like 2006, 2007.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes, Lynn.
would you like me to see if we can compile that information for you?
Oh, you're busy. It's just curiosity for me.
Okay, well, if you do, let us know.
I am interested though, like the valuations, Lynn, in 2020 came out to $61 million of new valuation. And we had far more single family dwellings. And in 2021, it only came out to 39 million.
Some of that was based upon the scope of the projects, because that valuation is as a whole for all building permits. When it
So
was
like
evaluated-
commercial and,
Yes, and we had like some turbine upgrades and a few things like that that were substantially higher cost.
okay. Yeah, I saw in November of 2020, there was $32 million, so.
Yeah, so that the valuation is the big picture, you know, as a whole.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we are still in citizen comment, *6 or raise your hand. I see that Greg with Cease has his video on, but he's unmuted. Greg, did you want to give public comment? All right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
clarification question. I know in the past, we did do some discussion about citizen comment and ending citizen comment at 1:25. Putting it in the agenda that at 1:25 is 5 minutes of board comment. We were gonna do that on the first of the year, but it's not on here, and I wanted to know whether we wanted to do that or leave it the way it is. So that it can be, if we're going to do that, I would like to, I guess I would say have it on the agenda so it's advertised that way.
I believe we spoke about that the week of Christmas, and didn't we agree that that's how it would be on the agenda, is 5 minutes of board comment?
Right, I just wanted to make sure I remembered it right. And that
Okay.
staff had the correct guidance to make sure that that's on the agenda and set aside for board comment.
Well, since we have 6, we are just at 1:25, and nobody responded to Peter Leone or Sherry, I would open it up for the board for any responses. I guess I'd go first. And I spoke with Peter a bit on the phone, and we had the discussion this morning about the Board of Health and expanding the members, especially with regards to the tribal members and where we're going to go that direction. I think we as a board, maybe on Thursday, since we're going to have a budget discussion, maybe we can also talk a little bit about what each of us see the expansion of that Board of Health to look like, and see if we can start getting direction. What do you gentlemen think about that?
I'm fine with it, sir.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to me as well.
All right, and then in response to Sherry, those numbers, tourism, unmanned natural resources, I do believe that was the current number of jobs in those sectors. Dave McClure may be on the line and may be able to let us know about that.
I'm on the line, but I'd need to go back and look at that, look at the data. I think you're correct, but I need to confirm that, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. And that was my only response.
Mr. Chairman, I can add to that, of the things that were quoted there, like tourism and whatnot, those were never economic. Future thoughts for the central and eastern region, those are for western region. The county is divided into 3 regions with different economic forecasts for each of the 3. And the one that was red sounds really familiar with the west end and not the central end, which is where the solar and the windmills are.
Thank you, Commissioner Christopher. Dave, Commissioner Sauter?
Yeah, I think that would be my recollection as well. I believe Ms. Bosque is quoting out of the strategic economic plan, which was adopted, I don't know, 15, 16, somewhere in there. I believe Commissioner is correct that those numbers are the current jobs in those economic sectors. That plan does break the county into 3 regions, west, center, and east. The tourism is one of the preferred expansions in the west end, not in the central and eastern. Central, I believe, is clean energy, clean tech was the #1, which is wind, solar, renewables, pump storage, and vineyards. And then east is the large agricultural vineyards, wineries, perhaps some agritourism. I don't recall. I don't think so. But I'm speaking off the cuff. But I believe the numbers referred to were the current jobs in those economic sectors at the time of the adoption.
Okay. There is time for one more citizen for public comment.
Commissioner Anderson, this is Mrs. Buskey. Do I have any time left on my 3 minutes?
You had 18 seconds left.
Okay, well, on this plan, I did see a project list, and on the project appendix 4 at the end of this plan, it included the city of Goldendale, airport street access, city landscaping, municipal airport improvements, observatory hill infrastructure, public safety. So those did include the Goldendale area. So I'll look at this again, and if there are 3 plans, I will talk about that later. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. We've got 1 minute left. Tracy. You can
Hello.
speak through. Oh. Tracy didn't want to speak, I guess.
Yes, I did want to speak. Can you hear
Yep,
me?
you're unmuted, Tracy.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I have just one quick question. And I just I would appreciate some clarification on what the purpose of classifying dispatchers as first responders rather than protective service occupation. And how it benefits the county. And that's my question.
Thank you, Tracy.
Thank-
Gentlemen, since we spoke first at 12:25, do either of you have a response to that? Oh, okay. Is that you, Jeff, that just unmuted yourself?
That's correct.
Go ahead, please respond, Jeff.
Yes, Jeff King, Director of the Department of Emergency Management. Communications officers are now technically classified under the federal and state workers classifications as clerical. And just recognizing that they are actual first responders was a gesture that myself and the county commissioners thought was warranted. There are efforts both locally and nationally to reclassify those workers from clerical staff, basically secretaries, to first responders. That's why that was done.
Thank you, Jeff. All right, being as it's 1:30, we are going to close citizen comment and open a public hearing to consider imposing the optional sales tax, second half cent. And that, as said, any interested taxpayer may appear and be heard for or against the proposal, and we will open this up to, is that going to be our treasurer? Are you going to speak on this first?
I wasn't planning on it, but I can if you would like, or Jen can, or.
Okay, I just saw you in the room.
So Greg and Jen are both in the room, whoever you like.
Okay, I didn't see her. Okay. All right, I declare that the public hearing is open and for the consideration of the implementation of the second half cent of the sales tax and the elimination of the 0.25% excise tax in lieu of the second half sales tax, and would like an overview from Jen, if you would.
Good afternoon. As discussed during budget workshops throughout this last year, the discussion has been had that with the structural gap that we are now facing, along with every other county in the state, that some changes would need to be made, whether it's reductions in expenditures or increases in revenues. And one option before us would be to increase the second half % of sales tax. This increase was budgeted for 3/4 of the estimated revenue for 2022.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, with that, we are going to open this public hearing to public testimony, both for and against the proposals. I can't see if there's anyone in the room, but I'm assuming not. So if there's anybody who would like to comment, please *6 to unmute yourself, or raise your hand, turn your video on. I am not seeing anyone. Sherry Bosque.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to make a public comment. I would like to vote against the raising of this tax, sales tax. I would like to suggest to the county that you explore moving renewable energy from the cost-based taxing system back into the income-based tax system. And as you've been explained to before, and I don't think it's the citizens' responsibility to explain to our county how these two tax systems on renewable energy can produce a lot more income for Klickitat County. As it stands at the cost system, these wind and solar companies get a depreciation each year, and the county citizens make up for that. So if Klickitat County would move back to, I don't know what year it was moved, I believe I heard 2014, from income to cost. If Klickitat County can move back to the income tax method for our renewable energies, the county can make a lot more income from these renewable energy companies. And being that these energy companies are foreign entities and such that are not helping our county with electricity, it would be good if you would consider raising tax money for our county budget through moving the renewable energies back to an income method and not raising the sales tax to people in the county. So I think that would be a good solution. I'd like to finish by saying that the county commissioners should make a decision on what they hear from the citizens. And if that's only from me, that would be the voice that you've heard. If that's from two people, then that's what you should consider as the people speaking and as you make your decisions to represent what the people want. And I am voting against the raising of sales tax in Klickitat County, and our county finds a better method that doesn't hurt the citizens. And that, my suggestion again, would be going back to income method to our renewable energies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bosque. Is there anybody else? Tracy is unmuted.
Hi, I am also against the raising of the sales tax. I believe that that Klickitat County has been impacted not only by the COVID pandemic, but from the gas prices and the food prices and everything else going up, that just an increased sales tax would hurt the community much more than it would help. So I'm against it.
Tracy, can I get your last name for the record?
Wixman?
Wixman. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else interested in making public testimony on the proposed 0.5% sales tax increase?
Clarification.
7211.
My name's Greg Wagner with Cease. I agree with Sherry Basque. The taxes need to be diverted to the large corporations and taken away from the citizens. The 8.5% annual depreciation on the renewables is ridiculous to have the citizens carry the burden of that, and that no new sales tax is needed. You need to tax the people that are in the county making all the money and the big corporations rather than taxing the citizens. So do your job and tax those people that need it. The project's over $1 million under canvas, Lund Hill, the wind turbines, the wind farms, the next Bluebird project, Navy Knight Road. All these need to be done properly rather than putting the burden of taxation on the citizens. So I oppose any new taxes, any new tax increase, 0.5% or anything. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner. I saw, was it Dave Barta?
Good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you for taking public hearing, a public testimony. I don't know if you're able to or willing to answer questions, but I could not hear Jen Bartley as to the balance of the excise tax, how much money that creates versus the additional 0.5 cent sales tax and how much that would create. Was that information given, or do you have it?
Dave, we as the board will discuss this once we're done with public testimony, and I will bring that up. I was having a hard time hearing Jen as well.
Okay.
Thank you, but we don't, when we're giving hearing testimony, we do not respond to questions.
Thank you. I guess my input would be then not to raise the sales tax. As one of the previous speakers so aptly said, everybody is suffering from an inflation tax on top of all of the other official taxes that we have. So I recommend that you do not raise the sales tax. Thank you for taking my testimony.
Thank you, Mr. Barta. Is there anyone else interested? Peter Leon.
Thank you. I seem to recall hearing that there was an active opportunity where high-priced airplanes were being flown down to our county and sold out of the county so that they could take advantage of the lower sales tax. Will we lose that business? And I don't expect you to answer it right now, but you should look at it. Will we lose that business and the sales tax that we would be getting if we raise the tax? That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Leon. Is there anyone else willing and interested in providing public testimony on the sales tax increase? You may unmute your phone, *6, or raise your hand or turn your video on. 5252. Please give me your name.
Hello, Ryan Mel here. Happy New Year, Commissioners. I would like to also echo Jerry Busquet's point, and I'm against this tax on a couple levels. The first level being our county is already at a significant disadvantage due to our proximity to a no sales tax state, with Hood River and the Dalles being the largest cities that incorporate probably 80% of Klickitat County residents' proximity. I think you'll just further exacerbate the sales tax situation and our consumers shopping in Oregon. And I don't think that a sales tax raise will help our bottom line. I think it will actually end up hurting us because we'll have less sales. And I think it will also be very detrimental to some of the businesses that are also attempting to stay in business here. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mo. Is there anyone else interested in providing public testimony to the sales tax rate increase? *6 or raise your hand if you're on Zoom.
Mr. Chairman, Jen Bartley does have her hand raised.
Oh, Jen?
It sounds like I just want to make a little bit of clarification.
Or speaking of like.
A little bit of additional clarification here. Sounds like there's some confusion. So the second half sales tax increase would bring the county's unincorporated areas up to 7.5%. That would match City of Goldendale, would match the city of White Salmon. So it would be the sales tax that is already spent within the city limits. So just bringing up that incorporated area, we are the last county in the state to do so. And we would still be the lowest sales tax in the state of Washington. I apologize for not starting with that.
Thank you for the clarification, Ms. Bartley. One more time, is there anyone else interested in providing public testimony for the second half sales tax rate increase? *6 or raise your hand if you're on Zoom. I am not seeing anyone, so I am going to open it up for clarification from my seatmates of any public statements or questions, or if there are any questions of the treasurer or fiscal staff. Commissioner Christopher.
I would like to clarify some comments made during the comment period. It is not the Board of County Commissioners' job, its duty, or does it have any oversight in how green energy projects are taxed. Whether they're based on a cost system or an income system is determination of the tax assessor in the county. And the tax assessor in the county is working off guidance provided to her by the state. So the state says that they would like the assessor to use cost base. So that's what the assessor is doing. The commissioners cannot change that, cannot tell her otherwise. We are working with the state to try to get them to change their mind and offer different guidance to the assessor. So that's the first thing I would like to clarify. The second question was raised about airplanes and the sales tax rate we get off airplanes, which is true. The state is also working on new proposed legislation that doesn't allow us to do that anymore. So those planes wouldn't be able to just fly in, gas up, and fly home, and then we get the sales tax. So my guess is by the end of this legislative session, we will be losing out on those airplane taxes. That's all I have.
Commissioner Sauter.
I'll physically raise my hand. That's good. Yeah, I would just follow up on that. The concern that was raised by a couple of the commenters about the property tax system on renewables in Klickitat County is well placed. That has been the position of the board, that the current taxing system on those is inequitable. It needs to be changed. It is not within the board's authority or power to do that. We are trying to work. It will take a legislative change to do that. We are working to try to change that. Although I do have to make a point that the commenters weekly comment on their reluctance to have renewable energy projects located within Klickitat County. So it seems a little ironic that the suggestion that the way to fix the fiscal problem is to tax an industry that you weekly are advocating should not be located here. So yes, I agree though that if we can get some change so that we don't have that depreciation going on, that will not generate additional revenue. Because as those projects are depreciating, they're not paying, the tax base is not going down. We're still collecting the same amount of revenue. It's just the who's paying. And so that in and of itself would have no impact on the fiscal resources of the county. So, and as Ms. Bartley stated, I like there is a structural gap in revenue in county government. This is not unique to Klickitat County. We are the last county to have to contemplate ways to be able to survive into the future. We're the last ones to the party, but there is a structural revenue gap in the way counties are funded in Washington State. We are no different. And so this is, one of the ways that we are looking at how to shore up that funding.
Commissioner Christopher.
Just wanted to clarify one other statement and ask Ms. Bartley if she could tell us what we would be losing with our giving up the 0.25% of REIT. I think it's about 430, but I will ask for her opinion.
I believe we budgeted that at 437,000.
437,000 would be what we're giving up with that. If we give up that 0.25% of REIT. I would also ask the treasurer, isn't that roughly about the same number we get in airplanes a year, about 400,000?
We haven't gotten, it's not a consistent number, but we have had some that we didn't really get that many in 2021. This year we just came out of, but we did have some hits from that. I don't think it was exactly that amount, but it was somewhere up in
that range though. So potentially with giving up the REIT, we're giving up 437,000 of tax base, just shifting that to a different collection point. And if we're not gonna get the airplane sales tax anymore, we'd be giving up another 400,000 of tax base there that we're trying to make up for. But I think that answers all the citizen questions that I have noted.
Jen, would you clarify what it is expected to raise for the first full year in new sales taxes?
I believe that we budgeted the 2022 3/4 of the year at 1.2 million additional.
So it'd be a full year would be like 1.6, 1.8.
That's what I would anticipate.
And that would be raised from the unincorporated area, because like Jen said, our cities are already at 4.5%. So the people in the cities will see no change. And we will still be the lowest sales tax in the state.
That is correct.
Okay. I will inquire if there's anyone else from the public wishing to comment. *6, raise your hand. Okay, we are going to close the public hearing to further public testimony. And we will go into discussion by the board. I know that we kind of were discussing there rather than just asking questions, so it's a little interesting. But is there anything either of you would like to say?
I guess I would say that I'm not a fan of doing this. This was not something I came into this office thinking I was going to do. But after looking at the budget, looking at the future budget of this county, I see two options. You either make these changes here and fix the revenue side, or you have massive staff reductions, which would then hurt the amount of services you can provide your people. With that and the fact that the populations in the cities will not be affected by this, and that we will still be the lowest sales tax rate in the state, I reluctantly think this is the best option to serve our people.
Commissioner Sauter.
I would echo those sentiments. I did not. I will reluctantly be supporting the resolution to adopt this. It's not something I think any of us are really excited about doing, but I think we get elected to make hard decisions. And that it is, I see it as necessary, that the alternative would be significant staff cuts, which would be cuts to basic services that our citizens rely on. I do see it as an issue of fairness across the county too. It trues up the sales tax rate that all of our citizens are paying then. We're all paying the same rate then. I think that the thing that I have drug my feet on the longest was the possibility that we were seeing the promise of those sort of extraordinary airplane sales that could be significant revenue from that. But with the need to, it's basically a loophole. And, there are, as we expected, that was going to be a short-term thing. And I think there is activity to close that loophole. And so it really is going to become a where that's not revenue that we're going to be able to keep. So I will definitely be supporting this resolution. I think it's necessary, and even though it's hard, I think it needs to be done for the fiscal health of the county.
And I would go back and add one more statement that I think, not only for the fiscal health of the county, but the future budgets of the county, because we have to think past today. We have to think tomorrow, we have to think 5 years, 10 years. And when you look at what's coming down the line in this county with just, let's say, radio tower improvements for our, to be able to continue our emergency services and whatnot, those costs are going to be $40 million. That if we don't start collecting today and saving today, we'll have no way to pay for those tomorrow. So just wanted to add that.
Jen, for clarification, when we did our 2022 budget, and most of this I'm saying for the public, we included in there this tax increase in our budget in order to really balance the budget, did we not?
That is correct.
And if we had not included this tax rate increase, it would have had a significant use of reserves, or we would have had to cut services significantly, correct?
That is correct, to the sum of $1.2 million.
To the sum of $1.2 million. With that being said, $1.2 million cut to the basic services of the county, when we already required a 3% reduction in across the board, on top of further reductions, both in staff for departments. I personally am going to have to sadly get pulled into saying yes to this as well. It's something I would never want to do, but the simple fact of the matter is that in the county, we get to raise property taxes 1%. Inflation's running 7%. Our costs are going up. Our salaries are going up more than 1%. We raise about $54,000 a year in new property tax with regards to the general fund. The things in the general fund, such as the sheriff's office, the jail, the E911 system, the increases alone are more than that goes up. This will create a buffer. And I will also make the statement that I'm going to continue to do everything I can to find funds elsewhere in the future, such as with the renewable energy, such as increased economic development in the central and east part of the county, and supporting things that raise funds so that we can continue to provide the level of service that we're currently providing. With that being said, I would entertain a motion unless you two would like to leave this open to further public written comment.
I'm ready for motion.
Right, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion. We have before us a resolution in the matter of the local option sales tax, second half a cent. That resolution would raise the local option sales tax 0.5%. It would also rescind the resolution allowing for the 0.25% charge on real estate excise tax in lieu of the second half, per all of this per the RCWs. My motion would be to approve that resolution.
I would second that motion.
There is a motion and a second to rescind the resolution allowing a 0.25% charge on real estate excise in lieu of the second half sales tax per RCW 8246-010, 3, and to oppose the second 0.5 rate for sales tax and remove the 0.25% of excise tax. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, moving on. We are going to move to Code Compliance Department update. Officer Lim Pratt. Lim, if you'd come forward.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
I was still thinking.
Yeah, I was thinking too, boy, I've been here a year and that's my front of the house.
Lim, would you be able to email that to me?
Yes,
Do it right now.
Whenever you're ready, Mr. Pratt.
Until she emails it to you, or?
I can listen to you and read at the same time.
So December 2021, code compliance closed 34 more cases.
Lim, would you use the hand mic? I can hardly hear you. And so I know nobody else on the
Is this on?
Zoom can either.
Push the button at the bottom.
Test 1, 2, 3. Can you hear that?
No.
You should hear the echo.
Yes, just speak really loud.
Yeah,
Check.
There we go.
There we go.
there we go.
So December of 2021, for code compliance, 34 more cases were closed for the following reasons. Several cases, the violation letters were mailed to new property owners without formal complaints.
Would you put it closer to your face again?
How's this?
A little closer.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. A squatter was on the property, was trying to pay the taxes, and the complaints were on the squatter, not on the property owner. Sheriff's Department did have previously explained the eviction process to the property owner. This was an ongoing civil issue. A letter of noncompliance, property was sold. Structure, so let me clarify that. So there's a letter of noncompliance on the property, and then the property was sold. So there's a new property owner. Construction.
It turned off again.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I can hear you.
So structure was built in 1976 with permits on file. Structure was already in place. This was a Department of Ecology complaint. New owner. Still not. There we go. 7 cases in compliance. I think the batteries are. I think the batteries are going.
I keep changing the batteries out. Turn it off and start yelling, I guess.
Okay. It's just not loud. I was gonna turn my phone mic on and set it over there, but then it started squeaking, so that ain't gonna work.
Okay. The other reasons, so certificate of compliance on file. Another one, no jurisdiction. That was in the case of pulp vehicles that were down on BNSF property, so we didn't have jurisdiction over that. Approval for approval for on-site septic systems. So they had been approved, and that was after an investigation was started. Letters had gone out, and this was compliance on that. One of the cases was wrong parcel, and then also the wrong property owner in the complaint. No violation in another case. Statute of limitations, so the RCW 4.16.080 limits the statute of limitations to 3 years. I am looking at these cases, and Mr. Cannell can correct me if I'm wrong in this, that if there's nothing that's been done in a case within the last 3 years, then it gets referred to basically statute of limitations for 1 year. So I don't know, that's the rule of thumb that I'm going with on this. So notice of infractions were issued, and then there were court resolutions. Living in RVs, approved septic systems. So people did have a septic system on site, and they're living in the RV full time, and we've already discussed that issue. So complaint investigation was on an occupant of an RV, not on a property owner. And I will say, yeah, and this is, I want to be real sensitive here, but, you know, when we cite people and not adhering to what the actual Klickitat County Code states as far as citing property owner versus occupant, in some cases, it does allow for that. In the case of, and I'll reiterate or then explain a little earlier or later, excuse me, on health department issues. There is a adoption that we have with WAC codes that in some of those, and I'll read it off here in a minute, but where it does allow them to cite the occupant of the property, even though they're not the property. Two nuisance complaints submitted by the same person 1 week apart. So those were the two complaints technically that is a violation of our policies. Washington State Department of Ecology has attempted on several occasions to pressure compliance to open an investigation without submitting a signed Klickitat County complaint form. I was informed that there are several counties that require outside agencies to submit a formal signed complaint. During 2 phone conversations, one with a planner and one with a region director for ecology, I suggested, and this was in response to, well, how do we fix this? How do we go about where we can just send you an email and you can open an investigation? So I suggested that ecology submit a formal policy change to the Klickitat County Board of Commissioners. But I want to say that if county commissioner is not required to, is required to submit a signed complaint form, that, you know, Klickitat County Sheriff, any the prosecutor, any other department director is required as well in order to have an official investigation open for a code violation. And I would think it only logical that an outside agency do as well, regardless of the agency. And that is our policy. I will note that in past code cases, the Department of Ecology has submitted Klickitat County complaint forms signed by biotech or somebody in their office. I don't know why this has changed now with their office.
They just refuse, you keep telling them and they just refuse to sign it. They don't want to,
Well,
somebody doesn't want to put their name out there as being the.
I don't know. They never gave an explanation, but I will say I have, just on this issue alone, several emails in exchange with the Department of Ecology. And on the last email, and this was following up on an incident that they said they could not divulge the person that reported it to me, so I could contact them and get them a form. So they asked me where we were at on this particular case. That actually is not a case because I haven't investigated it. So I responded, nothing has changed. I cannot investigate this until I receive a signed complaint report. I explained this to your supervisor when she called me about the county policy and suggested the Department of Ecology submit a request for policy change. I am willing to contact the complaint, but if the policy is such that you cannot release that information, I understand. I have served 36 years in government, and the quickest way to get fired is to violate policy. There hasn't been any other email or contact after that. I want to work with them, and this has been an ongoing problem long before I got here. You know, with Department of Ecology in particular, and I understand that there has been some trimming of the edges, if you will, and I think that's where we kind of gotten into some murky waters on that and bringing us back in line to our policies. I don't make the policy on it. So,
Commissioner Sauter?
Thank you. It'll be easier when we're all in the same room. Yeah, I don't, I think we need to adhere to our policy. It does not matter. I mean, otherwise we have created a way to subvert our system, meaning that if a citizen can just complain to ecology and then ecology, just passes this on, but won't pass on. That does not sound like due process to me. I mean, there's a reason people have to, if they're concerned about their confidentiality, we do have, I mean, those are kept they can be kept in confidence in your office where, and so again, I just think it's just bad. It's a bad idea to, why are we, waiving the policy for one specific agency? It should apply to everybody, or it doesn't apply to anybody. And I think there's a reason why we have a process that people have to go through is to protect everybody's interests, that it is not, that you're not just, running to ecology to complain about something that you don't like, or allegedly going to ecology. We have no way of confirming that anybody is saying anything. It's just ecology saying it. They won't even put it in writing.
and we can't confirm that they're a property owner. That's within the procedures and policies of the.
Exactly. So, no, I say we hold fast.
Commissioner Christopher, thoughts?
I understand what ecology is trying to do. I understand what the potential complainers are trying to do. And while there may be an actual code infraction out there, if we start opening the door to letting, you can do it without following policy, or you can do it without following policy, you're opening a Pandora's box of, then you deny another organization for doing it. No, it's got to be fair. It's got to be even across the board, and you can follow policy just like I have to follow their policy. So they can follow my policy.
I will give a little bit more background on this. I know that ecology has floated the rivers and written down everything they think could be a code violation or a violation of a state law. And then they just sent it straight. They put it in their system and sent it straight to us. They did not check first to see if there was a JARPA or WDFW issued any permits for any of these. They just forwarded it on as complaints, as a package of them, without doing their due diligence. To me, that is adding, burdens on our already overburdened department, rather than doing their job to do their own research with other agencies. And that being the case, I fully agree with both of you that, as well as Lim's idea that if you would like to make a complaint, you have to sign the form. If you are making the complaint as an agency, you have to sign the form. There's no fast track process, because I know when we send anything up to ecology, we have to go through their processes. It works both ways. I'm sorry. And so if you're looking for direction, I think you have clear direction from us, Mr. Pratt.
Well, there was another incident where so for ecology wanted me to go with them to meet with the property owner. And I checked into this, found out the property owner had a building permit, was approved, gone through all the.
Can you speak up, Lim?
Yeah, so they had gone through all the process for Klickitat County. It had a building permit, was going through the building process. And I told them basically that there wasn't a violation of the building permit that he obtained in Klickitat County. And that I wasn't going to be used because they wanted to have a meeting with the property owner based on
the riparian zone that they saw was an issue with riparian zone. Then I went to both planning and building and double checked to make sure that he was within the restriction of his building permit. And so I just flat out said, I cannot meet with you. That's, in my mind, that's harassing our citizen. That has gone through our process. And so I guess I'm being due diligent to make sure that code compliance doesn't get sucked into these side things with another agency. And I'll leave it at that. With that, I can move on to my last point, if I may, or
Yes, please.
okay. So in 2021, there were 31 code cases that were opened, with 18 of those being successfully closed. There were 42 open cases and 53 nuisance abatement cases. So code violation versus the nuisance abatement cases. Some of those might be outside the 3-year statute of limitations. I don't know at this point. And I do have a request into the Commissioner's office. Prosecutor's office. Some of the cases that I've seen that were newer cases, but did not go to abatement, but they were being investigated as nuisance cases, I changed to code violations because it's easier, in my mind, to, when somebody has the definition of a wrecking yard within Klickitat County, we have a code that says, and the definition of wrecking yard versus trying to abate it through a nuisance abatement in that process. The other one is also underneath the health department. So the health department, Title 8.14.010, which adopts state regulations in handling waste, solid waste. And so when a property has a lot of garbage, household garbage and that kind of thing, in the past, it's primarily been investigated as a nuisance complaint, when I think that it better serves us to investigate it as a solid waste complaint underneath the WAC code. And then that has a quicker process with it. And then I can go directly with the property owner, and we can work with them on that. There's a lot of backup in the nuisance abatement. I'm just thinking that if some of those can be switched over to code compliance, then I can work those without having, well, right now we don't have the resources to do abatement cases. So, but we do have the resources to do code compliance cases.
Makes sense.
Yeah, makes sense.
Any questions?
I do have one question for anybody in the room. Ecology, how do they handle investigations? And it's not just repairing their, let's say they give a permit to somebody to pump 5,000 gallons of water out of their well, and they just know for sure somebody's pumping more than that. Do they not have their own person to go out and say monitor said well and write a fine or a fee? Does anybody know? Or are they going to call the county and tell the county we have to go out and double check regulations they put in place? That sounds by the smile and what they want us to do.
That is a good question. There may be somebody that has a little bit more history with that. I do, but that seems to be the case that I've been running into. So.
I would say, at least from my experience, they generally don't like to get into enforcement if they can go have us do it. That's their preferred, because then we're the bad guys. They do have enforcement authority. They do have some enforcement arm with the agency, but I think it's a resource issue.
I think they want somebody else to do that.
Right.
I can't imagine they don't have any kind of an enforcement branch if they wanted to do that. By all means, more power to them, but.
Sorry, my iPhone died.
Kill time for you, sir.
Thank you.
Stretch it.
Lamb, I was just looking at your notes and it says, oh no, I gotta find it again. You closed out 31 I guess 31 cases were opened in 2021, but you closed out 34 cases just last month. And 18 of those being open were closed. How many cases have you actually closed since you took the position?
Good question. I'd have to go back and refer to my notes on the previous commission.
A few.
Yeah, a few. I would say that it's probably out of, well, I think we started with 184, 185 or something like that. I think it's got to be somewhere around the 70 mark, if not a little bit more. But I do have those exact numbers. I can get those to you.
I was thinking that we started with 180 and there's still like, what's that, 85 open. So you've closed out half of the cases that we've had. I just wanted to say, great job.
Oh. Well, thank you. It's yeah, I think, you know, the past officers, they've had a very organized system. I was really impressed with the way that they, you know, of course, there is a systematic way to do this, but they in the abatement cases, they went right down the letter on those. I'm hoping, and one of the questions I do have for the PA's office is, can those cases that did go to abatement, can the information in there be transferred over to a code violation? Now, the cases that didn't go to abatement, that the commission, Board of Commissioners did not grant an abatement approval to, those cases, my understanding is can go because they were didn't go through the process. But the ones that did, that are just, they're stagnant, they're just sitting there. And so if they're still within that 3-year limit of statute of limitations where it was still being worked, and there wasn't really a 3-year break in that, could that be transferred over to code violation? And then I can go ahead and continue to work that and work with the property owner on that. So we'll see where we're at with that. I just sent it in last week, the request, and so they've been, David's been reviewing that.
Are there any other questions for my seatmates for Mr. Pratt?
No, sir. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Lem.
Mr. Chair, if I could, in my former role as chair, what's his name? I was looking for your title. Never mind. To come and suggest that he come and make his request to the full board. So if you would entertain.
Please.
Thank you, Commissioner Snyder. So last week, this is Rob Van Cleve, HR and Administrative Services Director, and Jeff Rowe, IT Manager. We were notified last week that one of our 2 information technology system administrators had taken another job. So we're here to request permission to refill the position. We have not, because fiscal and HR has not put together the process that we discussed in a recent meeting. But I do have some information for you One is the general fund funded position, 2022. This soon to be vacant position is the primary contact for 8 of the county departments: civil service, clerk, commissioners, emergency management, HR, prosecuting attorney, superior court, and extension. This position is the primary person for 22 of our 71 servers and 18 of our 34 major software programs. So it's a significant position. And the last time we had an opening for one of these, it took 6 months to recruit somebody. So we're willing to answer any other questions that the commissioners might have regarding this position. It is a grade 43, and we would be requesting steps 1 through step 5 based on the uniqueness and difficulty in the past of filling one of these positions.
My seatmates have any questions?
Would it be cheaper just to buy some like 1/2-inch chain and a shackle and not let the person leave? It might be more.
Apparently my begging didn't work, so.
Right. Can I beg? Is he listening? Can I beg? No, it's needed. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's needed. I know we talked about, future vacancies in departments that we wanted to have a little more scrutiny on, when folks come in to replace those. We have, as you had stated, we actually haven't got that process together yet, and I just can't, particularly the statistics that you stated to us, I don't see any way how we can operate without refilling this position. I think there could be serious consequences to not filling this. So I would support trying to refill this position as well.
I guess I would add from receipt rates an option or an idea, or because in the past this position has been so hard to fill. And as we have hopes to go through a salary survey in the new year.
Stable salary survey.
Right. So I guess I would say I think we should be looking at where this position is with comparables and make sure that we're offering what we should be offering to get the right person in the door that might save us from waiting 6 months or 9 months. But in doing so, we would have to also understand that the other person that has this position, it would be only fair to move them up at the same time if we chose to do so.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
We're 60 days out at least from getting a final report and recommendation to the commissioners. While I appreciate that significantly, I think we can word the posting in such ways that we would with others as well, that there is a salary review that's been conducted in this position is in that salary review. The preliminary shows that I've seen, this is one of the positions that's under market. But I can't in good conscience ask you to raise one with 100 other employees waiting for similar results or the report. But I think we can work in such a way, and they're in the interview process for those, let them know. And I did share this with the outgoing employee that while I didn't give him any numbers, that I anticipated the report in the next 60 days. He understood that and appreciated it. So I'm just not sure how we would do that for one position and not all others. But I think we can word it in such a way, and when we talk to applicants, let them know the position is that we're close to bringing you a recommendation. In general, this position is included in that study.
That would be my issue is so if we hire somebody at say a step 4, and then we go through this other process, they're already a step 4 and we've paid them what we think they're worth. And then once we go and we amend the base rates. Now this person's still going to be at a step 4 or 5, or potentially. I see some potential conflict with that, but I'm sure you can find a way through that.
Thank you, Commissioner Christie, for bringing that up.
With that, seatmates, is everybody a yes for advertising? That is 3 yeses, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. And I think, Mr. Chair, Aaron might be on the phone. She notified HR she had at least one position to refill. So it's up to you, Mr. Chair, Commissioner, but I think she may want to address you now or when appropriate as well. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask that we take a 3-minute recess?
Yes, sir. We will recess for 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hey, thank you, gentlemen. All right, we will move on to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the consent agenda with all 3 items.
I will second that motion.
There is a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with 3 items. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Let's move on to the payment approvals and pay estimate change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we pay estimate number 20 to Kirby Nagelhow Construction Company in the amount of $215,529.93, which excludes retainage in the amount of $8,712.53, and includes sales tax in the amount of $16,164.74, for a total payment amount of $222,982.15 for the County Services Building Project, contract number C03120.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of paying pay estimate number 20 to Kirby Nagelhout Construction Company signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Did we ever talk to Aaron, which was what we were going to do before we went to that?
That is what we're gonna do now.
Thank you. I thought you guys
Sorry,
forgot
Erin.
me. I thought you guys forgot me, but thank you, Dan, for remembering. So one of our staff in Goldendale has put in their resignations. They'll be done, I think, next Thursday. So we're asking to refill that position. So it's a clerical admin assistant 3. They're face of environmental health in Goldendale. So like to get that going if possible. It is already budgeted for 2022 and will continue to be paid in the same manner it has been in the past.
Do we have one, how many clerical assistants do we have in environmental health?
2.
We have one in
White Salmon
Goldendale and
and-
one in White Salmon.
Mhm.
Okay. Is there any discussion, gentlemen?
Was this one of the grant funded positions?
All of our positions are grant funded.
All yours?
This year.
This year, just this year.
No, I mean, they always have been, right? So it goes, your time gets charged to where you're working. So
Right, just clarification question.
yes, no, I
I
appreciate it.
ask everybody, don't take offense.
Nope, I did not. I am happy to answer that question.
Anything, Commissioner Sauter?
Now, certainly necessary. It was budgeted for, we need it. I'm a yes.
All right, you have 3 yeses. That sounds like there, Ms. Quinn.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do either of you gentlemen have any new business?
No, I
Or
would,
unfinished business, or board pending, anything you want, Mr. Sauter.
would be just to confirm, we're gonna, our plan is to have a discussion about the Board of Health makeup and current vacancy on Thursday during our workshop or after our scheduled workshop.
Correct.
A part of our scheduled workshop, a new topic, not budget related.
And I'd like to ask Director Quinn, will you be available for that?
Yeah, I didn't know that was happening, but no, I will not be available for that. Sorry, I apologize. I didn't know that was happening. Is there?
We didn't either.
Can we push to the next week so I can attend?
Do we have a budget or a hearing, anything the next week? I can't get to my calendar right now.
Do we
Do it
have,
on Tuesday, I'm sure we can fit it.
we could squeeze it in on the following Tuesday. I don't know that, I mean, it's up to you guys. I don't care either way.
We have till July, correct? But we have one position that's open that we need to
Yeah,
fill.
right. We have one position that's open. It's not bylaw mandated that we fill. But if we are gonna fill it, we should fill it with somebody that qualifies starting July 1. There was also still a possibility that the July 1 deadline is pushed back because of lack of clarity in the law.
Yep, my understanding is that they haven't solidified it yet, and so unless you guys got different information, that the guidance was mostly done, but not final.
Yeah, I mean, that would be on the future board makeup, but we definitely have a vacancy in the current Board of Health as configured right now that we need to at least have a discussion about how we're gonna fill that vacancy. Which I'm fine with putting it in next Tuesday is fine.
Do we want to do it like Tuesday morning in a workshop, or do you want to do it Tuesday afternoon? Morning? Mr. Chairman?
Tuesday morning's fine for me. Quinn, are you available next Tuesday morning? I guess I should ask.
I absolutely am.
Okay.
For sure this time.
All right, we'll add it to our agenda. Thank you. Okay, any other issues, pending issues from either of you?
All pass at this time.
Pass.
Okay, is the treasurer in the room?
No. Physically in the room.
Yes, yeah, watching the snowfall. Take my mask down. See if that will help project my voice. So we had our final Finance Committee meeting with Commissioner Sauter for the year of 2021 on Friday. It got rescheduled because of the holiday. So we had that on Wednesday, the 29th. And during the meeting, there was appreciation to Mr. Sauter for his, Commissioner Sauter for his attending.
It's not
this year.
mystery yet.
Yeah, yes, yes. So Brenda, the auditor, and I both appreciated that, and we are looking forward to Mr. Anderson, Commissioner Anderson, coming on at the next meeting. We talked about a topic that was from previous, was the Dallasport Wastewater facility that has been discussed. That was kind of one of the main topics of the meeting. We had it at the end of one, or it got brought up, and so we put it on this agenda. I think the questions were kind of financially, where was that at? That is a fund that is a challenge for the auditor and myself, and we've had discussions with the board in other meetings and workshops. And there has been a discussion of, looking to do something different with that facility. And I think the question and it came from just what's the plan, and where are we headed to? There was a discussion that there's a rate base or rate study that we believe is going on right now to increase the rates in order to make the system more viable. And then the key thing, which I really want to clarify, is the payment of the debt. Because I think we had agreed we were going to pay the debt off early, and I just we all kind of during the discussion wanted to make sure we were having that, that we were all on the same page, that we remember all having the discussion, but that we all finalize it to that point. And paying the debt off, and then kind of that next step was the question whether there's a committee or what the board would do, or does the board would they like the finance committee, which is the auditor and the treasurer and the board chair, to have a discussion or, to kind of do anything different. Is that something the board, it was kind of, where does this go to, I guess, was really the conversation. Because I don't know that it's a finance committee thing. It just was a conversation because we're all finance committee members and deal with the Dallasport wastewater facility. That's kind of where it stemmed from. So I wanted to confirm, I guess, that we did want to pay off. I believe that that's the direction that we wanted to go, that we wanted to pay off the debt for that. The remaining, there's one more payment to SRF, I believe. And that we wanted to do that, and that's what we put in the budget. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, for me, that's as soon as possible.
Yep.
The check can get written tomorrow, that'd be fabulous.
And then the next question would be, where does that go? What's the next steps? Is there, and I guess that was just kind of, it's more of a board. I guess
I'm raising my hand to the chair.
I was letting him finish and then I was gonna call on you, Commissioner Sauter.
No, we're good.
You're like,
I was like, the commissioner's raising
their hand, what do I do? I lost, about because we did discuss in there, typically this is a public facility. Its disposal would be, or surplusing or whatever we're doing with it, would typically be handled, it's a public facility through Public Works, but we were kind of wondering about capacity as far as being able to timely get through a process to look at. And so we were thinking, we were just speculating on, do we need somebody else, a committee or somebody to kind of handle this? Obviously work with Public Works because this is it's their facility. But they wouldn't necessarily be in charge of how we were gonna get rid of it, unload it. So that's what we really wanted to bring up. I mean, what folks' thoughts were, who should be, because I think, the first thing was pay the debt off because we can't even consider surplusing it until the debt is paid. And so I think we had all, which we've now confirmed, we budgeted for it, get it paid off. The sooner the better, because then we can start that process, whether it's an RFP process to look at, are there other entities besides the PUD that might be interested in taking it on or acquiring it? I mean, it's a significant asset for somebody, particularly if the rate setting gets done and the service area gets expanded to include Murdoch. I don't know that there's other, whether maybe the port would be, it would have to be a public entity of some sort because it is a public facility. But that was the topic we wanted to bring up and see. Somebody's got to ramrod this thing to get it done, besides the treasurer writing the check.
Commissioner Sauter, have you met with the city or the community council down there and discussed this?
I don't have any direct recollection of that, as far as, I think I brought up that, the payment was going to be, the system was going to be paid for. I probably alluded to the county would be, we don't want to be in the wastewater business. That's not what we do. And that we would be looking, but as far as to anybody besides the PUD, I don't believe I raised that as even a possibility.
Commissioner Christopher.
I would say, if we need a committee, we need a committee. If one commissioner wants to take this project on and pressure Public Works or however this needs done to get it done as expediently as possible. I would like to move faster than I've seen government work so far. I don't know if that's possible, but.
So I would say, well, I want to move fast. This is a significant asset that the county has. That you could take loans against, that you could do a lot of things with. And to just give it away is, disheartening in a bit. Because somebody is going to take that, change the rates and start making money on it. And I think so while we want to have those conversations, I think the appropriate commissioner would be Commissioner Sauter since he has the most experience with the thing.
But my worry is just if we don't move on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
If we don't move on this, we're gonna be paying for upgrades.
Right. That is, and I would, you know, this is a significant asset, and I think we can be expedient, but also, but be diligent too, as far as I think, you know, and let's not forget that the bottom line is this system serves all those residents in Dallasport, and that was the whole purpose of why the county got involved in the first place, because nobody else was gonna do it. And so there was a problem that the county stepped up and fixed. And so, you know, we're seeing the kind of fiscal and the headache of it and all that, but at the end, it is providing a really important service to those citizens, and I just don't want us to forget that, even if it is a pain in the, you know what, as far as to deal with that. But yeah, I mean, I would be happy, not happy. I will accept the responsibility to try to, and I don't want to characterize this as, you know, throwing rocks at Public Works, because I don't believe the board is doing that at all. They do it excellent. They need to be involved in this. This is a public facility, but there's a lot on their plate right now. And I think that's the kind of the looking at options and that kind of stuff is something that we can do to kind of help them out.
And I think from the finance committee, that wasn't the gist of that conversation either. It wasn't that it was more of that we paid off some of the bonds that we've been discussing financially from the state audit. It is a pain in the rear end for the auditor and the treasurer with the balancing and the working of it. Right.
And that's really all they care about.
It was, yeah, no, it's not, but that was how it
2/3 of the
came up.
finance committee was like,
So that's how it came up. So it was mostly just kind of, we discussed it before and where this was going. And so that was the piece. So
what was the final answer? We one commissioner doing it or we finance committee doing it? I deferred to your guidance. So I think Mr. Chairman did as well, but I could be wrong.
I think the finance committee has a role as far as the fiscal piece of it, the physical facility that they don't really, that's not their gig. That would be, and I think that would be, you know, if we want, I would, but who I would be working with would be the finance committee on the financial pieces of it and public works on the physical pieces of it, as far as what the process is to, you know, and frankly, do some brainstorming about what's even possible. And really, I want to talk to the prosecuting attorney as well, because it is a public asset. There may be some restrictions, maybe not, I'm speculating about who is eligible. I think if it's being surplus, it could go to anybody if we're getting some value for it. If we are basically giving it away, we can't gift public resources only to another public entity, would be my layman assumption, because it generally is that way.
Commissioner Christopher.
The last I remember the board's direction on this was, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we were looking to sell, not give away, at least to start with. Is that correct?
My recollection is, you know, we want to get the very best deal we can for both us and the citizens. And if that is, I mean, it's, you know, we invested millions and millions of dollars to
try to recruit taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Yeah, just clarification. Thanks, sir.
All right. Continue, please, good treasurer.
And so that was a discussion. We then moved along and talked about the budget and mostly the conclusion of 2022, but mostly the beginning of 2023. Jen reported that she will be having some meetings and budget build meetings. I believe they're this Thursday, but beginning in January of 2022 for the 2023 budget. And that she's looking at financial policies and ways to deal with financial policies that are sometimes buried in Budget resolutions so that we can have them, so we can kind of see them in other ways and not necessarily change, just so that they're more, so we can see where they are. So she's gonna go through that. She was reporting on that. Then we talked about that Friday was a banking day. So Friday the 31st, two of my staff and myself, we had a conference call and we did some final deposits and everything for the office, because I think we thought it was the banks were closed, but they were not. So when a holiday falls on a Saturday, the Federal Reserve is still open the previous Friday. So it was not a banking holiday, banks were open. And so we were getting deposits and we wanted to get those receipted in for the end of the year.
You got things worked out with the auditors or
Got it all
something?
worked out, yeah, my big thing, the bottom line is we got the receipt stuff, that was the main thing. And then Jen and I continue, we are working on looking at historical sales tax, specifically back to the plains. That was one of the pieces, and we hope to resume that and have something shortly on that. Brenda updated that she believes that we're near the end with the state audit and that we will be having that come through the process as we move through. And then we set our next meeting for 1/14 at 9 a.m. For January 14th at 9 a.m. And I invited Mr. Anderson to that. So we should be kind of transitioning to all the parts and pieces. In the treasurer's office, a couple of things to note. We are continuing to head towards our foreclosure sale, which is February 14th, online for assets, similar to how we've done when we did the tax title property.
Really, you're selling off foreclosed properties on Valentine's Day?
That's the date it starts. It doesn't finish that day. It starts then, and I think it goes for 4 days or something like that. But that's the opening bid. So yes, it opens on the 14th.
Nothing says I love you like a.
Yeah. Now, let's remember, these foreclosures, we've been working on them for 3 years. So this is not like
You
anything that's
heartless.
brand new. I can't remember why I chose the 14th. Maybe because it was easy to remember.
Yeah.
And there are 6, I think it's Tuesday, and then it goes through the following Monday. And there's 6 properties that are still on there, so we'll be doing some advertising on that going through. The assessor has frozen the values, so we're not doing any more changes to the system while they're gonna work now on the levies. And hopefully we'll get the taxes, I believe, by statute, it's February 15th or 16th, somewhere, or January 15th or 16th, that we then start, by the time they're supposed to have the levies done, to us to start doing the taxes. So usually about 2 weeks from now, we'll start doing the taxes, and we'd like to have that done towards the end of January, 1st of February, and send the tax statements out March 1st. Those are the only things that I have. Are there any questions? Yes, sir.
Commissioner Christopher.
Not a finance committee question, but do you have any updates on the properties the county owns, either in White Salmon or the Klickitat mill? Any movement there at all?
I don't, that's one of the things that after the holidays, I want to try to get those, I'm hoping to get those things to you guys here in the next couple of weeks, because we got a little bit of lull between the tap in this next little bit. So, and the ones you're talking about is the mill site, and which ones?
The White Salmon property, where they want to put the stairs up the hill.
Oh, yeah. I've got that, yes, the one that we got to sell to the city.
And also the triangle piece there in Dallasport.
Triangle in Dallasport. Yes, no, my hope is to find, I've got all the parts and pieces for the White Salmon one kind of put together. I want to hopefully be able to finish that up, and the mill site, and I will add to it the triangle. I think I might have forgotten about that, but I will. Triangle site.
Okay, because we're gonna try to get something together with the communities there in Klickitat. So if that's the priority for at least for me right now.
I would agree. The earlier we know, the better. That way we can handle that before it.
And the concern that I have is going back to that one, and that's going back. There's not a question that it's a foreclosed, a tax title property. The concern that I have and what I really want to get hammered out is all the dollars of where everything's gone and who has what, so that we just, as the trust of it, we have an accounting that we can somewhat agree to before we roll on down the road. Where we're at. So yes, we'll work on that. We'll finish it. Okay, anything else?
No other questions here. I've got it on the 14th for me, so.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Treasurer Gallagher.
Yep, thank you.
All right, moving on, Prosecuting Attorney Cannell, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. The principal issue I had was that wanting some clarification on the intent of the county moving forward with the conveyance of the property lot 2 down in Dallasport from the Lyle School District. So now that that's firmed up, I am going to track down the original copies of the lease to make sure we're not missing anything in case it didn't show up on the title report, just in case. The attorneys for the school district she's on vacation until next week, so we have a little bit of time on that. Otherwise, the weather did delay court. We did have a video court session yesterday. The first and third Mondays of every month are the scheduled dockets for the felony matters in Superior Court. Both, I think one of the public defenders and the judge were not able to make it. And then once we received notice of the closure, we moved to a video conference system. There's a lot of confusion out there when that message went out was closed. That doesn't necessarily dictate that the courts will not hold sessions. So there might be, I would caution the board might want to consider the judiciary and being involved in some of those conversations. And then the trials that were scheduled for tomorrow morning got bumped back 2 weeks to the 19th, which is extremely unfortunate because now we're the backlog's been an issue for the last 2 years now, and it's getting substantially worse. We still have the position open for the DPA. We're not receiving any interest. I think about 2/3 of the counties are advertising for DPAs. It's extremely difficult to get young people to want to be a prosecutor nowadays. Our pay puts us about in the middle of the pack. So it's very frustrating. And then otherwise, a lot of good work getting done by Chief Deputy Wall. My office administrator has been really, Janet Matulovich has been really key in keeping, some of the coordination going on. About half my staff lives on the west end, half on the Golden area. So that's always difficult in adverse weather situations, but we've been utilizing the Pioneer building. And our office went fully online within, I think, 10 days of the origination of the pandemic with the lockdowns. We've been we can go fully online at any time. So that's been extremely helpful. IT has been helpful in the past with that and continues to be so. So express my appreciation on that. Also express the appreciation to the courts for being accommodating on that. And then we'll just have to proceed. It's extremely frustrating time for a lot of folks. The Blake backlog is still present. I think we definitely feel confident that we've gotten all outstanding warrants and active warrants and active supervision warrants, things like that, taken care of. But we still have the backlog of cases from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that need to be vacated. I know the clerk has a lot of valid concerns about possible rushes on LFOs, but that's a lot of these folks didn't pay their fines to begin with. The issue is really going to be on most of these funds were dispersed to other agencies. For example, it was common in the 90s to have a $500 investigation fee for law enforcement agencies that was dispersed, as you can imagine. If it was paid to the law enforcement agency, how are we going to potentially recover those funds? And then the possibility of compounding with 12% interest by statute it's a nightmare. And luckily, we're just dipping our toes in that right now. But so we're doing our best, and that's what I know for now. So I'd be happy to take any questions.
Any questions for my teammates?
Nope, I'm good.
None here. All right. Do you have anything for executive session, Prosecutor Cannell?
This time, no.
All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order, gentlemen?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to adjourn the regular meeting to Thursday, January 6th at 9 a.m. for budget planning workshop.
Second the motion.
There's been a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone, for logging in today.
All right.
Good luck on your snow blowing, snow plowing, and shoveling.